On this episode of Firefighters and Fire Trucks Getting Ice Cream, we're driving around in a 1956 International Howard Cooper pumper. This is one of the very first fire engines with an enclosed rear jump seat. She has a 500 gallon per minute pump and a 300 gallon water tank. She served the Clatskane Fire Department in Oregon for many years and was donated to the Oregon Fire Service Museum in 2016. This rig has a 5-speed split rear end transmission, as you will see here in a minute, and you will definitely hear as we're cruising down the road in Salem, Oregon.
Hi, I'm Jesse Quinalti, and this is Firefighters and Fire Trucks Getting Ice Cream. Today we're actually going to be hanging out with Phil Jose from Seattle Fire Department, retired deputy chief. We're actually at the Oregon State Fire Museum while I'm teaching up here at FireX Talks, and having a good time up here, teaching some strategy and tactics and managing employee fires. So I want to go pick up Phil and have some great conversations and get some ice cream. So stay tuned. Alright, get this thing parked here. What's up?
Hey Jesse, how you doing?
Good to see
Good
you.
to see you too.
You want to go get some ice cream?
Absolutely. Thanks for picking me up.
Yeah.
Well, this is the real deal, isn't it?
Oh man, this thing is it's fun. I was going to say fun to drive, but I don't know if I can say that yet.
It's going to be fun to watch you drive.
That is probably the case. I'll tell you. It's and the throttle's kind of sticky, so hopefully we don't crash and die and burn up. So.
Well, if we crash into anything, I think the other person's the one's going to have to worry.
Well, you know, the other show that this is modeled after, you know, by a well-known comedian, I think in his show they have a breakdown occasionally, so this might be my first one. We'll see how it goes.
Well, you know, we'll get those problems solved, whatever they are.
Luckily, we have a chase vehicle if we have to. So, how was the drive down?
That was good. Yeah, it's the Pacific Northwest, it was raining off and on, but
right.
I'm fairly used to that, and the traffic was good. No problems at all.
Good. But you just got back from teaching in Boston?
Did, yeah. I asked the training chief out there. First, he called me to see if I'd come do the reading smoke program for their chief officer training program. So I'm going to be doing that in June for 4 days, train the chief officers there, and then a couple weeks later, he called me back and asked me if I'd come do the tactics class for their company officer development program. They have like an academy, and I said, heck yeah, that's what an opportunity. And I'll tell you, really sharp folks there, really sharp. It was a great day of training, and I learned a lot. I hope they learned one or two things as well.
Right. Now, how did that come about where you were pretty much knighted by Dave Dodson as one of the people to carry it forward with the reading smoke process?
Yeah, well, obviously I met Dave first, just at FDIC, and when we started teaching nationally for air management, and right around the same time the book came out, I think it was 2009 or so, he and my group, Seattle guys, with Mike Galliano and Casey Phillips and Steve Bernardo, Dave said, hey, do you want to put together an 8-hour training day at FDIC called the Ultimate Reading Smoke Air Management Workshop? You're like, how do you say no to something like that, right?
Right.
Now here's one of my mentors, one of my people I looked up to in the fire service, asking me if I want to participate. So we did that, and then Dave and I just really struck up a great friendship from there.
Right.
And so a couple years ago now, so probably 2016 or 17, we were having dinner at FDIC, and he said, "Hey, you know, I'm gonna give up teaching on the road. Are you interested in taking over the Reading Smoke program?" And I gotta tell you, Jesse, the first thing I said was, "Wow, that's something I have to think about." That's
Right.
you know, but I came home and mulled it over and talked to my wife Trish about it and said, "Yeah, I'm in." And so then, since then, I spent over a year teaching on the road with Dave and trying to figure it out. Like anything, you know.
It's gonna be rough. You get up to high gear and leave the throttle in.
Yeah, just let her run.
Yeah. Well, that's a very intricate class to take over.
It is. The first couple times, I had actually went back and I'd seen Dave teach, I think it was 8 times. And so I actually had all my notes. I went back to all those, went back and had a copy of the video that he did through Penwell, looked at all that stuff and just started reading and everything. And then I would go to his classes, like the one he taught down at Red Helmet Training for you.
Right.
And I'd take my own notes, but little sections of the program I'd start teaching them, the hour here, 2 hours there, and then we'd sit afterwards. He'd give me his feedback and just mentor me through really absorbing it. And then once I really felt like, actually I should say, once I felt like he felt like I had a pretty good handle on it,
Right.
He literally said, "You're out. I'm done teaching with you. Get out there and start doing it on your own." Says, "You don't need me anymore," and which of course is never truly be the case. But then I started teaching on my own. I've been teaching the last, I think it's been 2 years, 2.5 years. I've been out doing that along with my other stuff.
So now, as you came in, and Rob, you said, was the other
Right.
guy. Has there been any changes or advances in the Reading Smoke process as you've gotten some of the think tank together?
Yeah, I think not only the 3 of us, but also one of the things that I've been really trying to do is incorporate as much as I can the really latest stuff from UL NIST, like really get that in the program and take it, to my own style of teaching as well.
Right.
And really make it my own. Rearrange some of the pieces. Try to make sure that as I go to different jurisdictions, and I'm sure Dave did some of this stuff too. Try to make sure that if I'm pulling videos, I'm trying to pull something that's where I can representative of the housing stock or the building stock
Right.
in the area where I go. And so both the Reading Smoke program and the Tactics program, I try to build those to some degree around the audience that I'm going to have.
Well, that's always one of those things, as you teach around the country, it's not like teaching in your own backyard. You really have to kind of mold and shape your class to, well, we're predominantly volunteers here, or we don't have that style of building here, so.
Right. Yeah, and that's both one of the challenges and the joys of teaching is making it each day, trying to get as much value for your student as you can out of every class you're doing.
Right.
And I know you feel that way, and most fire instructors do, where it's like the value is in making sure the student gets what they need, right?
Yeah.
And with the Reading Smoke, one of the things like I've been trying to work on is getting some notion of what it's like. How do you read smoke in the hallway? Like if you have a fire on the 3rd floor of an apartment, when you're opening the door on floor 3,
Right.
you should be reading the smoke there. Is it a foot from the ceiling? Is it all the way to the floor? Where in between? Is it such that you have time to stretch dry? Should you stretch and charge here in the stairwell?
Right.
Those are some things that I'm trying to add into the program, just based on my own experience, taking the sort of the outside view of reading smoke and translating it into the tailboard firefighter, the company officer, the division supervisor level. So there's a sort of a different take on it based on where you are in the fire ground.
Right. Because it's obviously harder to read smoke inside the building. I mean, originally in the reading smoke process, it was always, this is not for the inside, this is an outside perspective, but we all know that there's some reading smoke process you can do inside. It's just, there's different variables to it at that point.
Well, and there's things that, a lot of the stuff, the velocity and the color and that sort of things, if you start taking the UL and this stuff and think about the air track, well, talk about the air track going in, and at the same time there's a smoke track going out.
Right.
And is that smoke track at the ceiling level? Is it laminar above your head? If it's only a foot from the ceiling and it's laminar, you probably have not much of a threat right now. But if you're reading that smoke over your head, now it's 2 feet down, and now it's 3 feet down from the ceiling, and now not only is it's not white anymore, now it's black. Now we're seeing some turbulence, which tells you that not only is the energy of the smoke going up, but the ability of the box to absorb heat has gone away, right? You're getting much closer to that turnover.
Right.
And so maybe now's the time to start flowing a little bit of water. It's enough smoke, it's enough heat. And so recognizing how those elements come into play for those crews that are going inside is just an additional part of the reading smoke process.
Well, and even and you've seen some of my slab saver stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, so that air track, I mean, it's huge in the profiling. We go through the safety profile and the life profile, but that air track portion with the building is a huge thing to determine risk versus gain, life profiling, can they survive it? What tactics are we using? It's the reading smoke is the beginning, it's the stepping stone to now we got to control that air track to literally affect our tactics and our strategy.
Absolutely. And then you take the next element of that is to say, okay, what's it look like now? What's my projection of what it's going to look like 2 minutes or 3 minutes? One of the things I was watching your episode with Pete Van Dorp, and you guys were talking about that deployment time. Like, what's that time element from the time I show up till I can actually be operating? Is that 2 minutes and 3 minutes? Let's say it's 2 minutes. What's this fire going to look like in 2 minutes?
A problem.
Yep. Oh, do you?
Yep.
All right. Well, I guess we're going to figure out what's going on with this rig first. Can't pull it from behind anymore,
it's not connected to the pedal.
The episode you have with Pete where you had the brand new rig and you were talking about the manufacturer and how they put it together and all that stuff, I thought, wow, that rig is like top of the line.
Well, and that was just because we couldn't find an antique rig for the first episode. So we were going to drive to Vegas. Me and Pete were going to drive to Vegas. We had an engine lined up there. And then Kevin Ward, the fire chief of Utah, says, I got a brand new fire engine sitting on the show floor. You guys can just use that. So it was kind of just a fluke, but I mean, really, it was awesome for the first episode. It was like, all right, we're going to use a brand new rig for the first episode, and then as we go along, we get to see all these different antique apparatus, and because really, that's what we want to do. We wanted to profile the old rigs too. The 1972 Crown, I got used to that after driving it for a while. This one I'm not getting used to yet.
Well, this time we're getting right through.
We'll see if the throttle sticks again. Man, I wish that throttle would work.
There you go. That was a smooth one.
That was smooth. No red lights. Ugh.
Just think every red light's an opportunity to practice.
That's what you're all about. It's this whole thing where your learning process that you teach out there. That's how you view life. I like it. Not that red light's going to screw me. It's an opportunity to practice.
I remember the first time I drove a rig like this with double clutching and all that stuff. When I was a volunteer, and it was so intimidating.
Yeah.
My dad was a truck driver, so
Right.
I thought, man, he's going to be disappointed in me if I can't get this thing moving.
So when we bring up the, the way that you think with your learning process, there's a class you talk about as far as teaching and the way that as instructors we can improve that. It kind of goes along with that, you seeing the red light as an opportunity. What's the concepts that you cover there?
Well, in the instructor development class, a lot of it's based around making sure that you're getting your students engaged in the process. The more engaged your students are, obviously the better they're going to learn, the better they're going to retain information.
Right.
And there's if you go all the way back to Socrates and the Socratic method, asking a lot of questions, but also learning to ask your questions in a way that your students can answer them, they will answer them, giving them the space. And like the biggest single hint on that is to give wait time. And when you ask a question in class, and you can see this everywhere,
Right.
Instructors will ask questions. Within a half a second, they're answering their own question.
Right.
And it doesn't give the students any ability to insert themselves. And all you have to do, and I've experimented with it a little bit, if you do that 2 or 3 times, your students will disengage from answering the question because they know you're just going to do it anyway, right? So they won't put themselves out there.
Right.
So it takes some practice and some discipline, but you're looking at if you can wait 2 to 3 seconds. And the nice thing about it is, once you learn, is that if you can outlast your students. So human beings by their nature don't like that silence that's hanging in the air.
Right.
People will feel compelled to fill it. And so if you can outweigh your students, so you got to be more comfortable with silence than your students are. And it's just most instructors haven't seen that model, they haven't practiced it.
Right.
It's not really a failure on their part. I mean, they haven't been properly trained and instructed, right? And so that's sort of the element of it is to say, look, here are some ways that you can get your students engaged in the learning process. And trust me, as an instructor, they'll have more fun, you'll have more fun, and they'll learn more. And,
Right.
and more importantly, they'll retain more of that information 3 days, 7 days, 10 days from now.
I know I have great questions. I can't think right now.
Oh no, another opportunity.
Yeah, with a throttle that's revving up like crazy. Take your window down a little bit. Come on, come down before the light turns red. Now the throttle dropped to the floor again. Jeez.
Oh, it didn't work.
You want to get your hand in there.
Push the pedal back. There you go. Teamwork, brother, makes the dream work.
Oh my gosh. Second gear, come on, baby. All these people driving behind me are like, what is going on?
Well, it says museum on the side.
It
so-
does. Yeah, there it goes again. Shit. Oh man, I don't want to keep doing this to you.
There you go.
On this episode of Firefighters and Fire Trucks Getting Ice Cream, we take 2 people to drive 1 fire engine. Yeah,
And this is where we were going that way.
we're getting close.
Welcome to Salem.
Yeah. Oh man. I'm gonna stop. having people volunteer for the show like this. What are you getting me into?
This is an adventure, man. I'm a retired guy. I need an adventure now and then.
Yeah, you're getting it. So I sent the picture of this rig to the ice cream shop owner, like, hey, this is the rig we're bringing down. And he's like, and he saw the video of the crown I used in the other episode, and he goes, don't you ever get nervous driving those old rigs? And I said, only if I crash it. So, man, this is definitely a test of the abilities of what we can do here. So we'll get to the ice cream shop. Where do you want to go? We kind of talked about reading smoke. We'll probably dive into it a little bit again, just in case the audio didn't capture the crap here. Where else are you got something going?
Yeah, and then I assume you can cut and add in if it didn't come in at all, then add it back in or whatever, or cut out the stuff in the ice cream shop if we got the other stuff that's good.
Yeah.
I don't know. Talking a little bit more about the teaching, I guess, and I don't know. What do you want to get covered?
I don't know. When I first started, I was like, oh, there's these things I need to talk about. But within the first 4 or 5 episodes, I pretty much talked about all my kind of stuff. So I've kind of thrown stuff out about managing employee fires and slab savers, and so now I'm just hanging out with my friends and talking about cool stuff. Ice cream.
And a place to park.
I'm sure you've never had ice cream before.
I haven't had ice cream today.
We can park in front of a hydrant, right? All right, let's go get some ice cream.
All right, sounds good. Hey, the door works.
Oh, that's a start.
There we go. Now she's working.
Well, the throttle's like stuck way down. I can't get it to come back up. We're just gonna go high gear and get it going. We'll get to the ice cream place, but there we go. Stay there.
She just needs a little love and she'll be alright.
She needs something. Love and a mechanic, that's what she needs.
One of the things I was watching your episode with Beat Van Dorp, and you guys were talking about that deployment time. Like, what's that time element from the time I show up till I can actually be operating? Is that 2 minutes and 3 minutes? Let's say it's 2 minutes. What's this fire going to look like in 2 minutes?
Be a problem.
Yep. Oh, do you?
Yep.
All right. Well, I guess we're going to figure out what's going on with this rig first. Can't pull it from behind anymore,
It's not connected to the pedal.
Break.
That's your hair. Jeez. There goes again. Shit. Oh man, I don't want to keep doing this to you.
There you go.
On this episode of Firefighters and Firetrucks Getting Ice Cream, we take 2 people to drive 1 fire engine. We're gonna pretend like nothing's wrong. We're gonna walk to the ice cream shop, and then we'll cut, and
Okay.
and then we'll go, Greg, this thing's f***ed up.
There is nothing wrong. This is awesome.